All right, UTG market update for the 19th of January 2019. Today we're going to be having a look at BNB, LTC, ICX, and BTC USD here in TradingView. But first, we're going to start off with BNB, Binance Coin, on the daily.
Thanks, Ty. Rightio, so there's a few things I'm looking at on BNB at the moment. Clearly, it's been in a nice trend the last, probably a couple of months now. This trend seems to be holding quite well. There's no real particular entries right now, so you'd be looking to possibly buy back off trend, and you're looking for that break to exit if you're already in. A clear level of support down here on the Ichimoku clouds. That's probably a key level of interest if we do start breaking this downtrend of where we may head down to. Using Ichimoku here just to give us clear indication of trends and when the trend might start to reverse, but we always want to look a little bit higher. So I'm looking for this supply zone up here from the previous consolidation drop, which also lines up with a fairly significant level of resistance here on the Ichimoku clouds. Left a little bit more, we'll probably find we get a few touches on the lag line as well, so that just gives us a little bit more confirmation that this is probably the area of interest that we're probably going to find some good resistance if this uptrend continues. And as always, love to use fibs. So let's check Fibonacci on the downtrend to the last swing low that we got to around here, and that sort of level of interest we're talking about finding resistance sort of lines up with the 50% retracement as well. So it's probably a good overall target. Most of our members got into this one at an early stage back here on this break from the other key resistance, was key resistance at the time. So we've got a pretty good trade going on here. As I said, there's not really an entry right now. You'd be probably looking to pick up off the trend line, and hopefully it keeps riding up, and we'll probably have a squeeze here. And looking for trend reversal signs like divergence, which we kind of we're starting to see a little bit of a bearish divergence starting to form now as we're making a lot higher highs on each swing, and the push is starting to get a little bit lower. It's not significant enough to really worry about at the moment. There's still plenty of volume building on the daily right now. So, yeah, really good work on BNB, and we'll just keep an eye on this over the next probably 2 to 3 weeks before this really makes another big decision, I believe.
All right, now we're looking at LTC Bitcoin on the Binance charts. Take it away, Don.
No worries. Again, we've seen a pretty steady uptrend in this over the last couple of weeks as well, but it has broken this uptrend. Probably draw a pitchfork on there, I reckon. Not in any significant area, but it was probably channeling within these sort of fib levels anyway at some stage. But regardless, it's broken that downtrend. It's had a big sell-off once we hit some resistance up here as well. Is forming a descending triangle. I do see a little bit of a downtrend here. If you're looking to break out trade, there could be a potential trade here back to previous structure. Something like this to the last high there before the last drop. But with the declining volume on the 4 hour, as we can see down here, volume's just dropping lower and lower after this failed attempt at a break on resistance here. So I would be thinking we're heading downwards, as this little bear flag will probably break soon. So we're going to look for potential targets or areas of interest that we might be sort of touching on. As you can see, we're sitting bang on the 50% retracement now from that last uptrend. If this breaks, obviously the next target's going to be the 61 and the 78.6. You can see here, this also lines up with a fairly consistent ranging area here. Between the 50 and the 78.6, you can see a range that we've bounced around a few times here. So sometimes, we return to these ranges and continue on with that sideways movement before the market really decides. So I'd be looking for a potential drop through this range. Right now, we're sitting on top of it on the 50% retracement. If we get a couple of decent closes below, and again, looking for reversal patterns, we could see a good potential short position here, back down to the 78.6 to the bottom of this range. There's even a lower demand down here. And obviously looking for potential reversal patterns again on the 61.8 to protect your assets by dropping your stop losses lower. So that's what I see on LTC right now.
All right, so for this one, we're looking at ICX, and this played out to an absolute T. Our inner circle guys were loving Donnie for this one. Donnie, show us what you had set up and what came about of ICX.
Yep, no problem. So last Thursday with the inner circle crew, we touched on Cypher patterns and taught the guys, or showed the guys some things that they may not have seen before. When a Elliott wave sort of fails to play out, you can sometimes bring up a Cypher pattern. I found one forming on ICX last Thursday, so we charted it up and took a snapshot for the inner circle guys to follow on, and we saw the D leg with the potential drop back down to around the 600 sat mark, and a couple of areas of interest for exit points on the 38.50 and the 61 a little bit higher, using fibs on the downtrend here. And fast forward a week and a bit later, and as you can see, we got a perfect touchdown here on 600 sats, and we got our exits on 38.50 and a perfect touch here on the 61.8. So this one played out to a T, and it was a bit of an eye-opener for some of the guys who hadn't seen this sort of TA done before, a little bit more advanced than your usual support and resistance anyway.
And that one really shows the significance of Fibonacci, doesn't it, too, Don? Where it's showing those key support and resistance levels, and just how powerful that strategy can be for beginner traders as well.
100%. The Cypher's based around Fibonacci levels. All these numbers you see here are all based on key Fibonacci levels. And the Cypher pattern has to follow a specific set of rules to in fact actually work. So they can be hard to find, because you've got to basically see the setup using these Fibonacci levels. But when you see them and it sort of follows the plan, then it's on.
Beautiful setup for that one on ICX. All right, moving on to the king, BTC USD here on the Bitstamp charts. Don, what are we seeing for BTC at the moment?
Yeah, not a whole lot, Ty. It's still ranging pretty average, declining volume as always. There is a little bit of a bear flag that's building at the moment on this failed attempt to form an inverse head and shoulders, which a lot of people saw. We sort of failed that within probably around here, I reckon, with this little Bart Simpson drop down. So we had a little rally here. We have a drop down, so we're in a downtrend, building a bear flag. So the next move most likely going to be down, especially with this declining volume. I don't see particularly strong demand down at this previous bottom. It wasn't a very strong bounce, and we sort of just dwindled down in a descending wedge. So that could have just been a recovery, or a short-term recovery from that descending wedge after the big drop from 6,000. So I don't see a demand here. However, heading back to 2000 and early 2017, I believe, maybe even late 2016, there's a really strong demand that's been built around 2,800 to 3,000. This has been my target for probably a good 3 to 4 months now, before we even drop back down from the 6,000 mark, which everyone was super bullish on. I've been looking here for a re-entry for some time. If this bear flag drops down, this is where I'll be entering the market back in again. Got buys set already between 2,800 and 3,000, and I still think we're going to range for a while though. There is a supply zone here around the 4.4 mark, so until we start making higher highs within this range, I still wouldn't be super bullish until we sort of start breaking this range around the 4.4 and make decent rallies, sort of highs on each rally before we start really calling Bitcoin bullish. I wouldn't be surprised if we sit between this range of 3,000 to 4,400 for another couple of months yet before we really see some really crazy moves. Might see some movement on some alts, but not so much on BTC in my opinion.
So for a lot of the beginner guys too, Don, that we see, still see a lot of people looking into alts. And for those who might not be confident or experienced traders, when BTC is ranging like what it is now, and we've seen the behavior of the last sort of couple of weeks and what we're seeing now, what would you advise to beginner traders, in terms of caution when they're looking at alts?
Yeah, you definitely always got to look to see what Bitcoin's doing. Generally, when it's ranging, it does give a little bit of freedom for the alts to move, and we have seen a little bit of bullish activity. Nothing super bullish, but we have seen some alts running 20, 30, 40, 60% sort of thing, which has been good to take some small profits in this range. But you always got to pay attention to to what Bitcoin's doing. Especially a move like this. If we drop down from this range and have a nice big 4-hour red candle, you can bet you that the alts are probably going to follow suit. And if you just jump into a trade, I wouldn't be surprised if you get stopped out straight away.
And
so always keep buying it.
It was interesting looking at BNB too, because we find that typically when BTC decides to do its thing, Binance Coin holds up quite well. Why do we see some coins like that holding up quite well, particularly Binance Coin as opposed to other coins, do you think?
Look, I've got my theories on it. In my opinion, BNB is one of those coins that a lot of people will just hold regardless. If a coin's got strong hands, so coins that pay dividends where people will buy a large amount of whatever it is and lock it up and get the airdrops or the freebies or the dividend payments. So Neo with gas, for example, ONT with ONG and et cetera. Generally, if you've got strong hands like that, it technically takes away the circulating or some of the circulating supply from the market. So it makes the market a little bit easier to move and they generally fare pretty well. BNB is one of those coins where I know it doesn't pay a dividend, but the reduction on your fees on Binance by holding BNB coins or using your BNB coins for fees, in my opinion, that's a pretty big deal. And for some of you smaller guys who are just trading with small amounts of money, it might not seem that significant when it's only like a 0.25% discount. But you've got to imagine there's some whales on Binance who are trading $1 million volume a day, which is peanuts to them. But 0.025% discount is it's going to be worth holding a few coins. So BNB is going to be one of those coins that have got a lot of holders, and if there's a lot of holders, price is generally going to fare well.
So there we go. That's the market update for the 19th of January 2019, Saturday. We've had a look at BNB Coin, LTC, ICX, and BTC USD. For more information on everything we do here at Unity Trading Group, head over to www.unitytradinggroup.com. Hit us on the socials, and of course, come and join us in Discord with Donnie. Having a little bit of a play around here now as well, and we share all this sort of stuff inside our Discord too. So until next time, thanks for tuning in and trade safe.
Thanks a lot, guys.